learning sales was okay. It was useful. But when I went back to college in 2013, something changed. I picked up podcasts. I listened to the Bigger Pockets podcast and changed my life, started buying real estate. And I got bored of that pretty quickly because I was like, oh, I got it. I got the gist. And now I'm just being entertained. And I didn't want to be entertained anymore. I wanted to learn. And that's when I found books. That's when I found books of my entrepreneur friends. I was like, what's next? And they're like, well, read this self-help book and read this entrepreneur and read this motivational book. And motivational books are like, it's like mental masturbation, right? It feels really good, but it's not a thing. There's no wisdom. There's no knowledge. There's just, it's just hype. And so I started reading books that like people that, I don't know how I hate this thing. I'm so sorry, you guys. I started reading books that my peers weren't reading. And then I was getting value that I didn't know that I couldn't relate to people because they weren't reading history or philosophy or economics they were just reading self-help books. And so that took me on those are some, you asked me about like pivot points, like those are some big ones. The books were a real big one.
Through reading, what did you discover are some of your big interests beyond like real estate or personal development?
History. Economics is the measure of human behavior, right? That's all it does. It's you're taking dollars and you're putting it towards human behavior. And like, look, this is what the people are doing, right? And so if I want to be a good investor, if I want to live effectively in the world, then I kind of want to know what's coming. I want to know what's going to happen next in the world so I can prepare. Well, if I want to know what's going to happen next, both, in economics and a lot of it nowadays, we talked about politics off the show. Like if I want to know what happens next in the world, then I need to know how people have behaved for the last 12,000 years.
Yeah.
Because people, they haven't changed.
No.
They're the same. And everybody kind of knows this, right? Yeah, people are the same. Why would they have changed? Except people don't know how they acted 5,000 years ago. So you don't know, like the patterns are the same. And so if you don't study it, it's gonna seem like a surprise when people behave in the way they do. And so for me, reading history has taught me more about people and than any like self-help, any like business book. Business books are like highly, how do I say it? Like anecdotal. It's like, it's your experience. Mm-hmm. And so, one of my favorite business books is by a guy named Lee Iacocca. He's dead now, but he ran, he was in charge of, he was a vice president of Ford in the 70s. And then he became the CEO of Chrysler. He invented the minivan. He invented the Mustang. Yeah. Like back then he was like the business guy, right? Before like the entrepreneurial age. But like that business book wouldn't really apply today because the culture is all different. But if you read history, if you read anything from, we talked about some of the books, right? Anything from the last century, you can go Karl Marx and Leo Tolstoy, or you can go farther back and you can do the Stoics and you can do Sun Tzu and they're saying a lot of the same things. Yeah. And when you start realizing, especially if you're an analytic type person who my girlfriend calls it, we collect data points. I'm like, I just want more information to confirm deeper things that I think I already know, and and that sort of idea. And so when you start reading things like, oh, I figured this out, and then it turns out I read something that they figured that out 2,000 years ago. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's potent. That's something to that. What's so important about that? And so when I started reading history, I started to realize what is information and what is knowledge. Yeah. Right. What is like, hey, that's useful for today. It's sort of like, one of the popular things is the Burr method. Yeah. It's like, dude, that's not ancient. That's not going to last. Like, it's good for now, but you have to learn something else because that time is going to pass. Something else is going to be the thing, right? If you read business books and they don't talk about social media, it's like, dude, you're done. You sunk. The world changed. You have to be on social media to do all your marketing now. And even then it's like, you can tell me Instagram and you can tell me Facebook and you can tell me Twitter and TikTok, but it's like, dude, in 10 years, I wonder if half of them will still be here and you'll have something else. You'll probably all be in VR. Yeah. So
is that what you're preparing for right now? VR?
I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's coming. Yeah. 100% it's coming.
Yeah. So it sounds like more of the things that you study is more of on the human psychology side and tying it to how does that affect the things around us or how does that affect the world, and not so much like what was prevalent to that period of time, such as I don't know, like TVs, newspapers, all these things are temporary and they only adjust to the time. So even beyond VR, we don't even know what can be beyond VR.
Yeah, I don't want information that is, I only want the infinite, the universal, the forever. I want like deep human universal truths, because that's the stuff that gets you, like, that's the stuff that teaches you how to live. Mm-hmm. And like making money is sort of easy, right? I'll put it this way, like making money, like you really only have to ride at the bare minimum, if you just ride the economic waves, you're going to do really, really well. If you participate in the market and then it goes up like it has for the last 12 years, it's like you made a lot of money. And then if you like, do that the next cycle, you're gonna make a lot of money. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to be a mogul. You don't have to build an empire to do very well financially just by riding the waves and maybe, trying a reasonable bit, right? You don't have to go gangbusters. I'm not advocating against that. I'm just saying, like, you don't have to do well financially. You just have to kind of participate in the trend of the market. But none of that teaches you how to live a fulfilling, meaningful life, how to have good relationships, healthy relationships with your friends and family, how to keep a family together, how to deal with, the unfaltering unfairness of life, that, the pain, the inevitable pain that's coming when, friends and family get hurt, sick, things change, etc. Like none of the business books are going to teach you how to deal with the real problems of life. And so when I look at human wisdom, when I look at books that are old, and I'm like, okay, this is what people are doing over history. These are the mistakes they make. And these are the things that they do to either survive or like get through those mistakes. And that's the things that I take. That's the things that I try to find.
Yeah.
Because again, like for me, like making money it's not my super top priority. And I also find it to be sort of easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there like a time period, maybe like the Stoics or like a certain group of people that you found that you almost aspire to, I guess, live the way they lived because they figured out life?
No, I wouldn't say it that way. There's a couple of people I really like. I like a guy named Friedrich Nietzsche. I got a big pink neon sign in my office that says "Become Who You Are" from a book somewhere, from a book called "Thus Spoke Zarathustra." I really like the mid 1800s Russians, Dostoevsky and Tolstoy. They do a lot of really, really interesting philosophy, especially because they knew sort of what was going to happen in the 20th century. Speaking of which, I have a book club. We're going to read Crime and Punishment starting in a few weeks. You guys are more than welcome to join. Dostoevsky writes this book about the incoming fall of the Russian Empire in like 1860, and then in 1917 the Bolsheviks overthrow the government and install the Soviet Union.
Where's this book club? It's on Facebook?
It's online, yeah. It's called the Great Book Club of Alexandria. We meet on Friday nights. You are welcome to. Everybody is welcome to join. Yeah, we've been doing it all year.
Well, that's awesome.
How many people do you have?
It's not that big.
It's
not that big. It's not exclusive. What it is, and you know what really it is people are. I'm going to say it straight out. People are intimidated because we read books like Crime and Punishment, and people again they want to read business books.
Yeah.
And I get that. I also think, I'm sorry, like my personal bias is I think people are missing out on a ton of value because they can't see the ROI to it. They can't see the immediate ROI to it.
Yeah.
They're like, well, how's it going to make me money? And I'm like, dude, what's the return on life?
Yeah.
You got to live. Once you have enough money, you still got all these other life problems, morality,